So, health. It is a state of complete mental, physical and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Okay, we've got a definition. Good. We can write it down. We can probably regurgitate it. Let's just spend a second. We are saying that health, by the way, this I should say as well, this is defined by the World Health Organization. We are saying that health is mental, it's physical, and it's social. Okay, well, that's interesting. And it is not simply being free of ill health. And I really want you to reflect on this, whether you remember this definition or not. I think this for life is important. Being healthy is not being ill. Okay? It's not being bad. Being healthy is being good. Maybe even being great. I don't want to overstress the point, but we can expect, if we consider ourselves healthy, to have a really good mental health, to be physically well, and to have a good social life. That is what we define as being healthy. And I think sometimes we tend to think of health simply as not being poorly. And I think that's something that you guys should reflect on. Have high expectations. Before I get into this teaching bit, have high expectations of your life. Have expectations to be happy and to feel good and to enjoy your days. You know, life is pretty short. God, this is getting serious. And you should do that. What do I want to do here? Let's take physical health, and I'm going to describe it to you as physical health and well-being. Well, what is this thing? Let's see if we can take it a bit further. If we were going to describe this, what actually would it be? So let's see if we can kind of put some descriptors around this. So first of all, it would be a description of all body systems, remember this is physical, of course, all body systems are working well. Okay, so what do we mean by that? I mean, I guess it means that we have a good circulatory system. You know, we're free from things like blood pressure. We're free from things like cholesterol and atherosclerosis. But all of our systems, our heart, our respiratory system, they are working well. Our metabolic structures are working well. We can also say, as we've said a moment ago in our World Health Organization definition, that we are free from illness. Okay, that is partly to do with physical health. Now, I would just stress with illness, we could be talking about injury. Okay, so it's not just about having a disease. In fact, let me put disease in there. Whether communicable and non-communicable, you guys know those terms from your biology, right? But it could be that obviously being healthy has not been injured. And for sports performance, that's quite important. And finally, guys, we need to be able to carry out our daily tasks. And we can define that this is what it means to be physically well. Okay, so let's take that a bit further with our mental health. Okay, so let's put in here mental. I suppose we could put psychological or emotional health. Mental health and well-being. Wonderful. Let's put that in there. Well-being. So we've mental health and well-being. What are we talking about here? We are talking about the ability to cope with stress. Okay, so people who are emotionally well can cope with stress effectively. And remember that stress is a subjective experience. Okay, we tend to think it is very, very negative, and it very much can be. But of course, people have different tolerances and different levels. So mental health is about being able to tolerate a little bit, of course, not too much naturally. Also, people who are emotionally well, of course, can control emotions. We might refer to this as emotional intelligence in some cases, can control emotions. And finally, guys, mental health or mental well-being is also a feeling good type factor. Okay, so it's a feel good factor. We get this from endorphins, we get this from serotonin. We could describe this as self-esteem. And there's different facets of self-esteem. You may study these in different points when, as you develop in your studies. You might realise there's even with self-esteem there's notions of self-worth as well as self-esteem. I won't get into that here, but it's useful for you just to be aware of it going forward. And finally, we have notions of social health and well-being. Social health and well-being. What do we mean by this? Social health and well-being. And sometimes it's the least obvious one for us to think about. But when I read this wording, I wasn't sure exactly what it meant. And I think I've figured out what it means. And therefore, I'm just going to leave it as it is and just say it as it is. But one aspect of being around other people is that your human needs are met. Now, I don't know exactly what the person who wrote that was thinking about specifically, but I suppose there are certain needs that only... Anyway, let's not get into it. It could also be that you are developing friendship and support mechanisms. Friendship and support. And also, being healthy, being socially healthy, it means you have value, okay? So think about how, in a society or a group, I suppose you could say. So think about, for example, being part of a team or a sports team. It gives you value within a group, right? That makes sense. And I think one of the really important things about being healthy, and I'm mixing it with being active, of course, which is integral, is it provides the ability to mix with others, okay? And I think that's really important for young people to consider. You will be an absolute genius at mixing with your friends and people who are like you, and maybe people that you feel similar to. But I think one of the real benefits of being physically active, being in sports teams, being in groups like that, is it will allow you to mix with others of all kinds of different people, different ages, different genders, different everything. You know, you can find a very broad range of people, and I think that's a beautiful thing when it comes to sporting teams, sporting clubs, physical activity, organisations, this kind of thing. And that's where we are. Cheers.